this is round 2. The first videotape got deleted accidentally, so so I had to try to find another group, and this group was volunteered, so I thank you for that. This presentation is on kind of the way the universe is made. So with that said, everything that I say are facts and is correct. Okay. Well, this presentation is to explore the presuppositions behind the naturalistic evolutionist and the reason to believe model for the origin and development of the universe. I will argue 3 points. The first is the age of the universe, and is the age of the universe compatible with the scriptures? Second, the implications of the fine-tuned nature of the universe. And third, are humans distinct from other animals or the product of evolution? And for the sake of this brief presentation, the theory of evolution will be restricted to atheistic revolution. So that would be philosophical naturalism. The other perspective will be the RTB model, reasons to believe. All truth, that which aligns with reality, can be understood metaphorically with a lot of limitations to a set of playing cards, a deck of playing cards. If everything in the universe were a deck of playing cards, then everyone has the same deck. Every person observes the same universe and world. No one lives in a different world. However, differences begin to take place when naturalists, for instance, say that the cards are all we have. Nothing stands outside the cards. They come into being by chance. The numbers, colors, shapes, sizes are all a product of chance happening. If true, then the cards have no inherent purpose. The RTB group thinks differently and proposes that someone created the cards and therefore stand apart from the cards. If true, it stands to reason that the numbers, suits, colors, shapes, and density of the cards were designed and have a purpose. One's presuppositions leads to interpretations. For example, naturalists use a method that necessitates the interpretation to exclude the possibility of a creator, and therefore they won't find one. The RTB model presumes God created everything and stands outside time and space. Therefore, the same scientific discoveries support a wise creator. Both naturalists and the RTB people observe the same universe, and they utilize the same scientific method that can be stated simply like this. Number 1, observe some aspect of the universe. Number 2, invent a tentative description, which would be a hypothesis that is consistent with what you observe. Number 3, use the hypothesis to make predictions. Test the predictions by experiments and further observations, modify as necessary. Repeat steps 3 and 4. It's kind of like rinsing your hair, I guess. Not mine, but yours probably. Repeat steps 3 and 4 so that there are no discrepancies between the theory and the experiment or observation. Evolutionary naturalists are committed to a methodological principle within the context of scientific inquiry. That is, all hypotheses and events are to be explained and tested by reference to natural causes and events. To introduce supernatural causes within science is to depart from naturalistic explanations. On this ground, to evoke an intelligent designer or creator is inadmissible. The RTB model relies on the same scientific inquiry. However, in this model, the possibility of an intelligent designer is not eliminated. To do so would be limiting. RTB is an organization of top scholars who agree with the Belgic Confession written in 1561. Who would like to help me quote that? Well, let me help out here. It says, and it's an amazing statement, it says, we know God by 2 means. First, by the creation and preservation and government of the universe. Since that universe is before our eyes, like a beautiful book in which all creatures, great and small, are as letters to make us ponder the invisible things of God. God's eternal power and divinity, as the Apostle Paul says in Romans 1:20. All these things are enough to convict humans and to leave them without excuse. Second, God makes himself known more clearly through his holy and divine word, as much as we need in this life for God's glory and for our salvation. The RTB model presumes that when the book of nature is interpreted correctly and the book of Scripture is interpreted correctly, they will be in harmony. The most important question becomes, which presupposition best explains the observable universe? To explore this question, I would like to briefly investigate three things. One, the compatibility of the age of the universe with the biblical evidence. I will discuss the fine-tuned nature of the universe, and are humans different from animals in what way? What is the age of the universe, and is it consistent with the biblical record? The scientific discipline of cosmology, the study of the physical universe, has made amazing advances in recent years. One spectacular advancement has been the Hubble telescope, which we've all heard of. This telescope has the ability to look back to the very near beginning of the universe. The age of the universe is shining from the sky. Since the Big Bang, scientists know the universe has been expanding. The age of the universe is, in part, based on the current size of the expansion rate. With the telescope, scientists have the capacity to calculate distance and time to determine the age of the universe. Those scientists, Lawrence Krauss, Vazil Rana, Hugh Ross, John Collins, and Richard Dawkins, have various presuppositions about the universe. They all agree on the age of the universe, 13.75 billion years. In what way do we understand the universe to be consistent with the biblical record? This is a hotly debated issue. This is where you can heckle. I believe anyone attempting to give an answer to this must do so with humility and open to other interpretations. The Bible does not explain the age of the universe, nor is the purpose to detail the physical universe. However, we should find what Scripture does say about the universe to be consistent with the reality observed in the universe. Science understands that the universe had a beginning. However, Scripture understood that far sooner. Genesis 1:1, and many other places. The Hebrew word for day is yom and has a variety of literal meanings. It can mean a 24-hour period of time or an undetermined amount of time. In Hebrew, there is no other way to say long period of time other than yom. In theology, the term literal has a unique meaning. It refers to the author's intent. If a person says it's literally raining cats and dogs, we know the literal meaning means there's heavy rainfall. In a similar way, we work to understand the literal meaning of yom. In Genesis 1, verses 1 and 2, it's interesting that those verses precede the 7 days. Right? We're not getting into the 7 days yet. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The beginning of God's creation came before he started the 7 days. This scripture does not say the universe was created at the same time of the earth. It simply says everything was created by God. Therefore, creation could have begun 13.75 billion years ago with no contradiction to the Bible. God's book of nature and the Bible are in harmony if this is true. Throughout the billions of years, the universe has been expanding. Scientists have discovered this. The book of Job, though, the oldest book in the Old Testament, has revealed this long before scientists understood this. Job says he alone spreads out the heavens, Job 9:8, and there are many other places that talk of the expansion of the universe by Isaiah and Ezekiel. So Job fills in part of God's creative activity from the very beginning of time and space. Once expansion was just right, about 4.5 billion years ago, the earth came into being. The earth was not originally habitable. The earth at that time was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, Genesis 1:2. Eventually, over a period of about 4 billion years, the earth was transformed into the perfect environment for humans about 50,000 years ago. Most scientists, except young earth proponents, agree generally on all these dates that I've talked about based on scientific evidence. Each day, yom, of creation can be interpreted as periods of time. Augustine spoke of the seventh day as having no end. In fact, we exist right now in the seventh day of creation. Could it be that the other days have a long length of time as well? Professor Collins says Augustine, Anselm, and possibly Aquinas did not take the days as the ordinary kind. In summary for this part, the days of creation are likely represent time periods. Likewise, the genealogies in Genesis must be understood in their ancient setting. Ancient authors were not concerned about complete genealogies, but lineage and for a theological purpose. Therefore, there are gaps in the lineage, unknown amounts of time. Hira says of Genesis 5 and 11, genealogies that are, of those genealogies, they are proportionate to the actual passage of time. Extrapolation from the fixed dates for Abraham and Peleg indicate that Adam lived approximately 50,000 years ago. We can see that the scriptures make statements about the beginning of the universe and the expansion of the universe well before scientific discoveries. This should bolster our faith both in God's book of creation and God's book in the Bible. Dr. Richard Wright, biologist from Harvard, says regarding the overwhelming evidence for an old earth, one should be sure the text demands the literal interpretation. By literal in this context, Wright is referring to the 24-hour period. I conclude with all humility that the book of nature supports an old earth created by God in the beginning, and that the Genesis passage is not violated in any way to suggest long periods of time for each day. In this way, the book of nature and the Bible are compatible. I hold this not with a tight fist to force a view, but with open hands, an open mind, and a desire for ongoing study. The second is the fine-tuned nature of the universe. In 2008, Hugh Ross put together 140 points that detail the universe as a finely tuned earth and universe specifically for human life to exist. I'm going to mention a few, not all 140. One of those would be the gravitational force constant, the expansion rate of the universe, uniformity of radiation, constancy and velocity of light. And there are 140 of specifically fine-tuned areas that create the possibility for life to flourish on Earth. This is an impressive list that builds a case for the fine-tuned nature of the universe and for human life to flourish, and represents just a small part of this list. One example of the fine-tuned nature of the universe has to do with carbon. Without carbon, life cannot exist. Why would God make a universe with so little carbon? Our universe has very, very little carbon in it. Researchers have found that the quantity of carbon must be just enough. Too much carbon translates into too much carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and methane. In large doses, these gases are poisonous. In modest quantities, their greenhouse properties keep the planet sufficiently warm for life. One of the wonders of the Earth is that it is sufficiently carbon-rich and carbon-poor. It carries enough carbon for life, but not so much as to interfere with life's atmospheric needs, such as the appropriate pressure and density for effective operation of lungs and a temperature range that supports a wide diversity of active advanced species. there comes a tipping point in the fine-tuned nature of the universe when the deck of cards fits so intricately together that one recognizes design and intelligence. Conversely, the same tipping point must put into serious question the naturalistic explanation. Theoretical physicist Lawrence Krauss characterizes nature as more imaginative than we are. Krauss observes the same science as of the expanding universe, the Big Bang, and the consistency of the laws of physics. His assessment of nature as having imagination seems to indicate intelligence, but his methodology allows nothing outside the cards, so he arrives at no such conclusion. There is no other planet in the universe we know of that is habitable by humans. In fact, everywhere else is deadly to human life. The entire universe helps support this tiny planet Earth, and even the smaller humans who exist on it. Evolutionary scientists like Charles Darwin, Carl Sagan, Richard Dawkins, and Lawrence Krauss would agree with the late Stephen Gould, who said, "Humanity is nothing more than a thing so small in a vast universe, a wildly improbable evolutionary event that it must be a quirk of fate." The smallness of planet Earth and the even smaller humans who inhabit the Earth from a scriptural perspective speaks to the amazing care God places on the Earth and its inhabitants. The universe supports and makes possible the just right conditions for human life to exist on Earth and allows humans to flourish. King David, in contrast to the evolutionary scientists, Darwin, Sagan, Dawkins, and Krauss, comes to a different conclusion about the vastness of the universe and the smallness of humans. David says, "When I consider your heavens and the work of your fingers, and the moon," surprising, "and the moon and the stars which you have ordained, what is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you should visit him? For you have made him a little lower." This will make a good presentation. This will make you just, he has made you just a little lower than the angels. "And you have crowned him with glory and honor, and you have made him to have dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under his feet." In light of the fine-tuned nature of the universe and planet Earth for human life, it seems incomprehensible that it is a product of chance accident. Such intricate shaping and formation of creation supports David's conclusions and creates doubt for a naturalistic evolution. It seems reasonable that as science continues to make new discoveries, further support for the fine-tuned nature of the universe will build the case for the God of the Bible. Humans distinct from animals. Humans have many things in common with animals: flesh, blood, biological functions, reproduction system, intelligence, will, emotion, and we share similar DNA. Naturalists find this as evidence for evolutionary connections. Naturalistic scientists suggest that humans are different from animals only in extent, not in kind. For example, great apes and chimpanzees exhibit creativity, intelligence, decision-making. These great animals also share with us 85% DNA similarity. On a side note, we share 35% similarity DNA with daffodils. The DNA similarities are likely to be that God used similar materials for everything that he made, rather than we all evolved from a single cell. In his book, Hidden Treasures of the Book of Job, which I would suggest you get, Hugh Ross refers to a study of a gorilla that had a vocabulary of sorts of 300 words and had his own pet cat. What does this mean? Are we humans more highly developed, but from a common ancestry? Ross points out that the categorical gap between the capacities of animals and humans. He says, while many animal species manifest intelligence and amazing intellectual knowledge, none can emulate the human ability to accumulate knowledge and build upon understanding from generation to generation. Nor can they share the aptitude for invention, communication, abstraction, and assessment. Part of the wonder of animals is they're human trainers. Animals are able to do in captivity under human training much more than they can do in the wild. In my seminary class, Hugh Ross discussed soulish creatures, which are higher animals, who have mind, will, and emotion, and have the ability to connect with humans. He suggested that when humans interact and bond with soulish creatures, the animals love to please humans. They even show off. I have a black lab mix, and one of the things that I think he knows that I like is when he runs really fast. I love to watch him run fast. And I'll take him on a walk, and I'll get about over 100 yards ahead. And when I look, he will just start running as fast as he can. And I'm cheering and yelling at him, saying, "Run like the wind, run like the wind." And he passes me up. And it's amazing how we can bond with animals. It brings great joy to us. But no animal can learn geometry, history, or contemplate divinity, or know anything about the hypostatic union of Christ. Scripture accounts, though, uniquely for the distinction between humans and animals. Moses says, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness.' God is creative, God is spirit, God is all-wise, God is perfect community, God is holy. Made in his image, we reflect just a fraction of this, so that we are creator, we are moral beings, we're intelligent, we're relational, and small where God is big. The creation model teaches that there is no evolutionary tree. Which model aligns best with reality? According to Rand and Ross, though humans share many similarities with animals, such as biochemical, genetic, physiological, and anatomical similarities, what separates humans is the image of God, which accounts for humans' high reasoning ability and to reflect on the past and the future. The human capacity to create differs from animals categorically. Humans have the capacity to worship God as their creator. My dog does not worship, but he will do almost anything for a treat. Humans are given a unique place in the animal world. We are to have dominion over animals. We are spiritual beings, animals are soulish creatures. The similarities and differences call into question the evolutionary theory, while the proposition of God as creator has merit. As scientists continue to discover similarities and differences between humans and animals, it should become more obvious that the human distinction of human beings is because they are created in the image of God. So, in conclusion, the book of nature and the Bible, when interpreted correctly, will be in harmony. No one has the perfect interpretation of either one, but we work to do so. As Christians, we can celebrate scientific discoveries and the pursuit of truth because we know it's God's book. In a similar way, we want to celebrate good exegesis of the scriptures because we know it's God's book. Before scientists discovered the universe and the expansion of the universe that had a beginning, the Bible talked about it. Scientists are in a place now more than ever before with the tools they have to discover God's handiwork in unique ways. As Christians, I think sometimes we don't engage the scientific minds in the scientific world like maybe we should. Those who are Christians and non-Christians are studying the book of nature. And in that way, I think they deserve our respect, and we should be nothing but happy for the discoveries that they do find, because it's discovering God's handiwork. Thank you very much.